I still remember the sound the tablet made when it lit up, a soft little click that didn't mean anything at the time. I wasn't trying to pry. I wasn't digging for secrets. I just wanted to check the weather before heading out to work. But what I found instead, well, it destroyed the version of my life I thought was real. My name is Evan, and this whole story began on a plain Tuesday morning. The sky was gray, the coffee tasted a little burnt, and I was running late for my shift. Nothing unusual. Nothing dangerous. Nothing that warned me that my entire future was about to flip upside down. Madison, my girlfriend of 3 years, had rushed out early for what she called a routine meeting. She left her tablet on the kitchen table, screen still glowing. I picked it up to close it. That's when I saw the subject line at the top of the inbox. Future plans, final version. At first, I didn't think twice about it. Maybe it was a work file. Maybe she was planning a project. She was organized like that, always building vision boards, plans, outlines. But the message preview showed my name. Not in a warm way. Not in a shared way. Not in the way people talk about building a life together. It showed my name in a line that read, "Prepare documentation to separate assets from Evan Miller." My heart sank so fast it felt like the room tilted. I opened the email, not because I wanted to snoop, but because something inside me whispered, "This is about you. You need to know." And there it was. A full outline of her next 5 years. A timeline. A plan. Everything from moving to Seattle, to buying a condo, to reorganizing her financial accounts. All under her name. Every part of her future carefully written out. And none of it included me. Not my name, not my role, not my presence. The only part where I showed up was in a small, cold sentence at the very bottom: goal, transition out by summer, ideally without confrontation. Without confrontation. Like I was some loose end she just had to quietly cut away. I stared at that screen with my hands shaking, waiting for some explanation to appear, something that made it all make sense. But the longer I looked, the more everything inside me cracked. I felt this strange mix of sadness, anger, and disbelief. Like someone had reached into my chest and switched my heart with a cold stone. The woman I lived with, laughed with, planned holidays with, the woman I thought I would marry one day, had already written me out of her story. And I didn't even know I'd been erased. For a moment, I wanted to call her. I wanted to ask why. I wanted to shout. I wanted to demand the truth. But something stopped me. A quiet, steady voice inside me said, "Don't react. Don't break. Not yet." Instead of exploding, I closed the tablet gently. I sat down. And I let the shock settle in my bones. I didn't understand everything yet, not the reason, not the timing, not the hidden pieces behind her final version. But I understood one thing: Madison had made a plan. A secret plan. And if she had a plan for the future, then I needed one too. Not to chase her. Not to beg. Not to fight. But to prepare. Because this wasn't just a breakup waiting to happen. This was a betrayal written out in neat bullet points. And if she wanted a future without me, she was about to learn that I wasn't going to disappear quietly. If you had asked me a year earlier how Madison and I met, I would have told the story with a smile. I would have said it was fate, or timing, or just the kind of moment that makes you believe life is lining up perfectly. It happened in Austin, Texas, at a friend's housewarming party. I didn't even want to go that night. I was tired, stressed, and honestly just wanted to stay home. But I went anyway, and there she was, standing near the kitchen island, arguing with two strangers about which old sitcom had the best season finale. She noticed me listening, pointed right at me, and said, "Okay, help me settle this. Who had the better ending?" I answered. She laughed. And just like that, the room felt warmer. We talked for hours, long after the party died down. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a spark, something real, something bright. We started dating. Slowly at first. Then all at once. Within a year, we moved into a small apartment together. Nothing fancy, but it felt like ours. We decorated it with second-hand furniture and big dreams. We talked about saving for a house one day, traveling more, maybe even adopting a dog when life settled. It wasn't perfect, but it felt real. It felt honest. At least, I thought it did. Looking back now, I can see the shifts, little things I ignored because I loved her, because I trusted her, because I thought we were building something together. She started traveling for work more often. She took urgent calls outside, even when it was late or raining. She locked her phone with a new passcode she didn't bother to tell me. She said she was just stressed, or just tired, or needed space. At the time, I believed every word. That's what love does, it makes you ignore the small cracks, telling yourself they're nothing, telling yourself that everything is fine. But after I found the email, something changed in me. I didn't panic. I didn't confront her. But suddenly, every tiny detail felt different. The way she avoided eye contact at breakfast. The way she rushed out the door before sunrise. The way her smile seemed forced, like she was acting in a movie I didn't know the script for. I tried to tell myself I was imagining it. Then came the morning that proved I wasn't. She told me she had another early meeting, the kind she never fully explained. Normally I would have left it alone, but that day, something inside me said, follow her. See for yourself. So I did. I stayed 3 cars behind, keeping my distance. My heart was pounding the entire time, like my body already knew the truth before my mind could accept it. She didn't drive to a meeting. She didn't drive downtown at all. She pulled into a small coffee shop on the east side of Austin, a place we'd gone to together years ago, back when things felt simple. And then I saw him. A man I had never seen before, waiting outside with 2 coffees. He smiled when he saw her. She smiled back, a real smile, one I hadn't seen in months. They hugged. Not a friendly hug. A close, familiar one. I didn't get out of the car. I didn't march over there. I didn't say a word. I just watched. And something inside me cracked in a quiet, painful way. It wasn't just betrayal. It was confusion. Sadness. A deep, sinking disbelief. The question that hit me hardest wasn't why. It was something colder, something sharper. How long has this been going on? In that moment, everything I thought was stable suddenly felt like smoke slipping through my fingers. And I knew, this wasn't just a bad week. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was the beginning of the truth, a truth I had tried not to see. Until it was standing right in front of me. I wish I could say I confronted her that day. I wish I could say I walked into that coffee shop and demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I drove home, sat on the edge of the bed, and let myself feel everything, sadness, anger, confusion, until the emotions blended into something quieter, something sharper. A decision. If Madison was planning a future without me, then I needed to understand exactly how far she'd already gone. So I became an actor in my own home. When she walked through the door that night, smiling like nothing was wrong, I smiled back. When she asked how my day was, I answered calmly. When she leaned in to kiss me, I didn't pull away. I played my part, and I played it well. Inside, though, everything felt different. Her voice sounded rehearsed. Her laughter felt hollow. Her "I love you" felt like a line she was tired of delivering. And the strangest part? The more I watched her, the more careless she became. She started leaving her purse open on the counter. She stopped hiding her receipts. She took calls behind a cracked door, not realizing the sound carried. It was as if she no longer cared whether I noticed, as if I had already been written out of her life, and she was simply waiting for her plan to unfold. The moment that confirmed everything happened on a Thursday night. She said she had late work, but came home almost 2 hours later than usual. She rushed to shower, dropping her handbag on the kitchen table as she hurried past me. A folded piece of paper slipped out and landed near my feet. I almost didn't pick it up. Part of me still hoped I was wrong, that I was reading too much into everything. But when I unfolded that paper, any hope I had left disappeared. It was a contract. A preliminary draft. Asset division, proposed structure. My name, my full name, was listed under a section labeled Items to Separate. I scanned the page, feeling a slow, cold anger crawl up my spine. She was claiming she paid for almost everything. She was stating the apartment should be in her name. She was framing my contributions as informal support, as if the life we built together was nothing more than a short-term stay. She wasn't planning a breakup. She was preparing to erase me from our home, our finances, our shared story. Quietly. Efficiently. Legally. I placed the document back where it fell, exactly the way she left it. When she came out of the shower, she kissed me on the cheek, thanking me for being so patient lately. I nodded and smiled. But inside, something in me hardened. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was strategy. This was planning. This was her building an exit route one careful step at a time, while I was still cooking her dinner and folding her laundry. So I started my own plan. Not out of rage. Not out of the desire to hurt her. But out of self-respect. I began collecting everything she thought I didn't keep, bank statements showing joint payments, photos of us furnishing the apartment together, messages discussing shared expenses, emails confirming decisions we made as a couple. Every piece of truth she buried, I dug back up. The more I gathered, the stronger I felt. Not happy. Not proud. Just grounded, steady, focused. Because I knew something important: if she had a plan to remove me from my own life, then I needed a plan to protect myself. This wasn't about winning. This was about not being destroyed. And for the first time since everything started, I felt ready. Ready to stop being the man she quietly pushed aside. Ready to face the truth head-on. Ready to make sure she couldn't rewrite our history without meeting the version of me she forgot existed. I woke up the next morning with a strange calm in my chest. The kind of calm that doesn't come from peace, but from clarity. Madison stepped into the kitchen, dressed nicer than usual for a work meeting. Too nice. New blouse. Light makeup. Hair done in a way she usually saved for special occasions. She kissed my forehead and said she'd be gone for a couple of hours. I nodded, pretending I believed her. But inside, I already knew where she was going. The moment her car turned the corner, I grabbed my keys and followed, not out of jealousy, not out of anger, but because I needed the truth straight from the source. I kept a good distance, staying behind a delivery van when I could. My heart was pounding, but not like last time. This time, it wasn't fear. It was preparation. After 15 minutes of weaving through traffic, she pulled into a quiet business plaza on the west side of Austin. She parked in front of a brick building with a polished silver sign out front. Whitman Associates, Family Law. There it was. The confirmation I didn't want, but needed. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't stress. This wasn't temporary distance. She was working with an attorney to remove me from her life. I watched from across the parking lot as she stepped out of her car. No hesitation. No looking around. No guilt on her face. She walked through those glass doors like someone who had already decided everything. I didn't follow her inside. I didn't knock on the window. I didn't make a scene. Instead, I sat in my car and watched the reflection of my own hands gripping the steering wheel, steady, calm, unshaking. Because I finally understood, this wasn't just betrayal in the emotional sense. This was betrayal in paperwork, signatures, and planned moves. 39 minutes later, she came out. And for the first time, I saw her crack. Her shoulders were tense. Her expression was tight. Her phone was pressed to her ear as she paced by her car. Something wasn't going smoothly. Part of me wanted to roll down the window and ask, "Everything okay?" But I stayed silent. I waited. And I watched her drive off in a rush, like she was running late for a life she didn't want me in. The next morning, the real moment happened. She was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling on her phone, acting like everything was normal, like the last few weeks weren't full of lies and quiet exits. I walked over and placed a thick folder right in front of her. She blinked. What is this?" I didn't sit down. I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "It's the future. The one you wrote. Not the one we talked about." She opened the folder and froze. Inside were printed copies of every email she had exchanged with her lawyer. Every plan. Every timeline. Every step of her transition out. Her face went pale. I can explain," she whispered. I stayed silent. She started flipping through the pages faster, her voice shaking. "Evan, you weren't supposed to see this. I didn't want to hurt you. Please don't make this messy." Messy. That was the word that hit me like a punch. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "Let me tell you the truth." Not, "I wish you hadn't found this." Just, "Don't make this messy." A quiet kind of sadness settled in my chest. Not heartbreak this time, just understanding. Understanding exactly what I meant to her now. I finally sat down and said, "I'm not here to make things messy. I'm here to make things honest." And for the first time, she had nothing to say. Because she knew the truth was finally on the table, and I was done pretending not to see it. I wasn't angry anymore. I was simply resolved. The morning after Madison saw the folder, the silence in our apartment felt heavier than any argument we could have had. She moved around quietly, avoiding eye contact, pretending to scroll on her phone. I could feel the tension, the panic, the fear of everything being exposed. But I wasn't panicking. For the first time in weeks. I felt steady. Because now that I knew the truth, it was time for my next step. I picked up my phone, scrolled through her printed email thread one more time, and found the contact information I needed. Her lawyer. I took a slow breath and dialed. He answered on the second ring, his voice calm and professional. "Whitman Associates, this is Daniel Whitman." I said, "Hi, Daniel. My name is Evan Miller. I believe you've been working with my girlfriend." There was a pause, a long one. Then he cleared his throat. "Yes, I'm familiar with the case. What can I do for you?" I kept my voice steady. "I'd like to schedule a meeting. In person." Another pause. He didn't expect this. "Of course," he finally said. "How about tomorrow at 11? "Perfect." That night, Madison asked if we could talk later. I nodded. But I didn't sit down with her. I wasn't interested in hearing excuses or half-truths. I wanted facts. I wanted clarity. I wanted fairness. And I was going to get it, not by fighting her, but by meeting the person she trusted to build her exit plan. The next day, I walked into the law office right on time. The same glass door she had walked through days earlier. The same lobby. But this time, I wasn't watching from a distance. I was walking in. Daniel greeted me with a polite handshake, the kind lawyers give when they think they know the situation better than you do. "Evan, thank you for coming." "I know this is difficult," I shook my head. "I'm not here because I'm hurt," I said calmly. "I'm here because there are things you need to see." I placed a thick binder on his desk. He raised an eyebrow. "What's this?" "Everything," I said. "Everything Madison didn't tell you." He opened the binder, and I watched his expression shift slowly, page by page. Inside were bank statements showing joint payments, receipts from furniture we bought together, text messages confirming shared decisions, screenshots of her calling our apartment our place, photos of us building that life side by side, and then, near the back, the part he didn't expect. A printed timeline, not dramatic, not aggressive, just factual. Dates. Times. Locations. A clear record of Madison's concealed relationship. No accusations. No anger. Just the truth she forgot to mention. Daniel leaned back in his chair and let out a slow breath. "I wasn't aware of this," he said quietly. "I know," I replied. "She only gave you her version. I'm giving you the full story." He flipped through the binder again, his confident posture slowly fading. "Evan, this changes the structure of everything she proposed." "Good," I said. "Because I'm not here to punish her. I'm not here to take anything that isn't mine. I want fairness. Nothing more." He nodded slowly. "Based on what you've shown me, fairness is not what she outlined. Not even close. That was all I needed. Not revenge. Not victory. Not some dramatic moment of triumph. Just acknowledgement, from the one person she trusted most in her plan, that her story wasn't the real one." As the meeting ended, Daniel shook my hand again, but this time, it wasn't polite or rehearsed. It was respectful. "Thank you for coming in," he said. "You handled this with more dignity than most people would." I just nodded. Because this wasn't about being dignified. This was about making sure I wasn't erased quietly. And now, her lawyer finally knew the truth. I knew the moment Madison walked through the door that something had changed. She didn't slam anything. She didn't raise her voice. She just stood there, frozen, like someone had unplugged her confidence. She finally whispered, "You talked to him, didn't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Because the truth was already catching up to her. Her lawyer had called her earlier that afternoon. I could tell from her expression, tight jaw, shaky hands, eyes that wouldn't stay still. Everything she had built behind my back was starting to crumble. "Evan, please, we can fix this," she said, stepping closer. I shook my head gently. "This isn't something you fix with words." She tried again. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." I was stressed. I wasn't thinking straight. But she had been thinking straight. She had drafted plans. She had met with a lawyer. She had prepared documents. She had chosen another man in secret. These weren't mistakes. These were decisions. And decisions have weight. Over the next few days, everything moved fast, faster than she ever expected. Her lawyer, Daniel, requested a revised conversation, based on the new information. That was his polite way of saying her original story didn't match the evidence, at all. Madison tried to blame him. Then she tried to blame me. Then she tried to blame stress, timing, misunderstandings, anything to avoid saying the one truth she couldn't seem to face. She left me long before she planned her exit. When her family found out, the shock was immediate. They had always liked me. They believed we were stable, honest, building something real. Her mom called me privately to apologize, even though she had nothing to do with any of this. A few of her close friends reached out too, quiet messages telling me they were sorry for everything, and that they didn't know how far it had gone. And that's when it hit me, she hadn't just betrayed me. She betrayed the version of herself she showed to everyone. When we finally sat down at the negotiation table, the room felt heavy. Madison kept her eyes on the paperwork, tapping her pen nervously. Daniel handled most of the talking, and this time, he didn't speak like he was on her side. He laid out the new terms: balanced, fair, reasonable. He acknowledged my contributions. He acknowledged our shared assets. He acknowledged the timeline she had hidden. Madison tried to interrupt twice, but Daniel gave her a gentle shake of the head each time, as if to say, "This is what happens when you don't tell me the whole truth." By the end of the meeting, it was done. I walked away with exactly what I deserved, not more, not less. My share of the apartment. My financial stake. My dignity. And for the first time in weeks, I could breathe again. Madison didn't speak much after that. She packed her things quietly over the next week. The man from the coffee shop didn't come to help her, something about that felt symbolic, like even he didn't want to step into the mess she created. She left Austin in early summer, just like she originally planned. But she left alone. No grand exit. No clean break. No future built on the story she tried to write without me. Just silence, and the weight of her own choices. As for me, I didn't win because I got my fair share. I didn't win because her plan fell apart. I won because I didn't let betrayal turn me into someone I'm not. I rebuilt my life, slowly, quietly, honestly. My peace returned. My confidence returned. My self-respect returned. And I learned something powerful: when someone secretly writes you out of their future, you don't chase them. You don't beg. You don't break. You simply write a better future for yourself, one where you're valued, seen, and chosen. And that's exactly what I did. People think the hardest part of betrayal is the moment you discover the truth. But it's not. The hardest part is waking up the next day and realizing life still expects you to keep moving. After Madison left, the apartment felt unusually quiet. Not peaceful, just empty. It was the kind of silence that echoes, like the walls know something is missing but can't decide what to say about it. For a while, everything around me felt different. The couch looked unfamiliar. The kitchen felt too big. Even my own reflection in the mirror looked tired, like I had aged months in a matter of weeks. I won't pretend I healed overnight. I didn't. There were mornings I woke up and still felt that sting in my chest. There were nights I replayed everything, wondering how long she had drifted away. And there were moments where I blamed myself for not seeing the signs sooner. But little by little, something strange happened. Life didn't just move forward on its own. I helped it move. I started taking walks after work, just to clear my head. Then I picked up a hobby I had dropped years earlier, playing guitar. I began cooking actual meals instead of whatever was quick and easy. I called friends I hadn't spoken to in far too long. Piece by piece, the weight on my chest lifted. Looking back now, I realized something important: I ignored a lot of red flags because I loved her deeply. Because I believed her, trusted her, cared for her. And that's not a weakness. That's not something to be ashamed of. The real problem was that I kept giving honesty to someone who wasn't giving it back. The more time passed, the clearer things became. Madison's future wasn't meant to include me. And you know what? That's okay. Because the future she planned wasn't a future I would have been happy in anyway. A future built on secrets isn't a future, it's a time bomb waiting to break everything it touches. I used to think the betrayal destroyed me. But the truth is, it revealed me. It showed me who I was when everything fell apart. It showed me the strength I didn't know I had. It showed me that self-respect matters more than clinging to someone who's already gone. And slowly, I started to feel like myself again. Not the version of me that tried to hold on to a breaking relationship. But the version I lost along the way. I found my identity again. My confidence. My peace. I learned to value honesty, not just from others, but from myself. I learned that real communication matters more than pretending everything is fine. I learned that walking away from something broken is sometimes the most powerful move you can make. These days, I wake up with a sense of calm I didn't know I needed. The apartment feels like mine now, really mine. I've rearranged furniture, replaced pictures, added new things that match the person I'm becoming. I even caught myself laughing again, real laughter, the kind that fills a room. And one quiet evening, as I sat on the balcony watching the sun drop behind the Austin skyline, it hit me, Madison didn't take anything from me that I couldn't rebuild. She didn't end my story. She just ended her chapter in it. And reclaiming my own story, that became the real victory. I survived the betrayal. I faced the truth. And now, I'm living a life that's honest, steady, and mine. Not the future she planned. The future I chose. There's something I learned only after everything fell apart, something I wish I had understood sooner. Not everyone planning beside you, is planning with you. Some people smile, laugh, share meals, say goodnight, and talk about tomorrow, while secretly building a door you're not meant to walk through. And the painful truth? You can't force someone to include you in a future they never saw you in. I used to think that love meant holding on. Staying patient. Working through every problem. But there's a difference between working through a problem, and holding on to someone who already walked away in their mind. When Madison wrote her future without me, it hurt in a way I didn't even know I could hurt. The shock. The confusion. The disbelief. It all hit at once, like the ground under me had quietly cracked and I didn't realize until I fell through. But with time, with honesty, with reflection, I realized something important: if someone secretly writes you out of their future, you have every right to let them go. You don't chase them. You don't beg for your name to stay in a plan that was never real. You don't shrink yourself just to fit into a space they already emptied. You step back, you breathe, and you understand, their decision is not your downfall. It's your turning point. I didn't win anything through anger. I didn't win through shouting, blaming, or trying to tear her down. I won through truth. Through preparation. Through staying calm when everything around me felt unstable. And that's the part one want you to remember, not just as a story, but as something you can carry with you. You don't need anger to win. You need clarity. You need honesty. You need self-respect. When you choose truth over drama, dignity over impulse, and fairness over revenge, you walk away with something far more valuable than a clean split. You walk away with yourself. I used to think disappearing quietly meant losing. I used to think holding back meant weakness. But I learned that the right future, the true future meant for you, doesn't require you to vanish quietly or accept unfairness just to keep the peace. A real future is built on mutual respect. On honesty. On shared decisions. On someone choosing you the same way you choose them. And if someone can't give that, if they write you out of their plans when you weren't even looking, let them go chase whatever life they think they want. Because the life you build afterward, with clear eyes, a steady heart, and a stronger sense of who you are, will always be better than the life you had to beg to stay in. So if you're listening to this and you're going through something similar, a quiet betrayal, a hidden exit, someone pulling away without explaining why, here's what I want you to know: you are not the failure. You are not the reason they left. You are not the broken part of the story. You are the person who survived the truth. And surviving the truth means you're ready for something better, even if you can't see it yet. Your future, the one you choose, will be built on honesty, clarity, and people who match the effort you give. And trust me, a future like that, it's worth every moment it takes to reach it. Because the right future doesn't ask you to disappear quietly. The right future asks you to show up, fully, openly, proudly, for the life you deserve. If this story hit close to home, if it reminded you of someone who tried to erase you, remember this: you are stronger than the people who walked away. If you felt something today, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There are more stories coming, stories that expose secrets, reveal truth, and remind you that you're not alone. And if you've faced betrayal yourself, share your experience in the comments. Your voice might help someone else rise again.